Boi. Come. Bashalan. In the peace. Atele. Putting crown on. Byler. Her husband. Boi Kailar. Come bride. This is a beautiful Hebrew wedding song, as if the angels in heaven are calling for the bride who has been waiting for 6,000 years to stand up bravely and put on the crown of glory for the coming King of Heaven.
大家好，欢迎来到以诺谈天节目。今天我们讲亚伯拉罕的故事第14部分。孩子戏言天当真，献子考验是真心。父子同心泪满面，满心喜悦真信心。前面我们说了，上帝在创造天地之先就呼唤亚伯兰2次，伯兰，伯兰。伯兰出生见天象，宁录王要杀他，结果仆人的儿子代替了亚伯兰，神救了他。亚伯兰苦寻上帝，宁录建塔办天庭。亚伯兰披神像，宁录把亚伯兰与哥哥哈兰投入火炉，最终亚伯兰3日3夜毫发未损，哈兰死在火炉中。宁录再次要杀亚伯兰，最终他们全家逃离。神第一次呼召亚伯兰进迦南地，神第二次呼召亚伯兰进迦南地，遇见荒年，撒来险遭不测。罗德与亚伯兰分开，差点被掳去，亚伯兰带318家丁救罗德。神与亚伯兰立约，祝福四方，撒来等不及，夏甲先得子。99岁亚伯兰割礼改名，准备迎接以撒的到来。在准备牛犊的过程中，发现了那埋葬亚当夏娃的洞。上帝灭所多玛地区多城，亚伯拉罕为一人罗的祷告。撒拉生孝学齿，赶走以使玛丽解千年之仇。
Hello everyone, welcome to EnochTH Show. Today we begin the story of Abraham, part 14. A child's jokes became seriously, offering his to test Abraham's sincerity. The father and son were united in tears, full of joy and true confidence in their hearts. In the previous sections we talked before the creation of the heaven and the earth. God called Abram twice, Burim and Burim. Abram was born, and King Nimrod wanted to kill him, but his servant's son took Abram's place. God saved him. Abram searched so hard for the way of back to heaven. Nimrod built a tower to rebel against heaven. In anger, Abram burned idols of false gods and smashed the idols of Nimrod. Abram was thrown in the furnace for 3 days and 3 nights. But he walked out without damage even a single hair. Nimrod had a nightmare and wanted to kill Abram. And Abram entered the land of Canaan in his early 50s. God called Abram for the second time into the land of Canaan. In the famine years, beauty of Sarai almost landed her a disaster. Lot and Abram separated and were almost captured. Abram brought 318 servants to rescue Lot. The covenant made in wilderness will bless the universe. Sarai was anxious to get a son through Hagar. Circumcised at 99 years old, God made covenant with Abram and changed their names to prepare to give birth of a son. Abram sat under oak trees with circumcision pain to welcome travelers. Angels visited them and a calf run away to bring great blessing of knowing the cave of Machpelah. God destroyed the 5 cities of Sodom and saved Lot. Sarah laughed after giving birth and washed away her shame and drove out Ishmael to start a 1,000-year feud.
41以撒37岁那一年，他的哥哥以使玛丽来帐篷中找他。 42以实玛利向以撒夸口说，当耶和华叫我父亲给我们行割礼的时候，我13岁，我按照耶和华向我父亲所说的话做了。我把我的灵魂归给耶和华，我也没有违背他吩咐我父亲的一切话语。43以撒回答以实玛利说，你为何要指着耶和华所吩咐你的，这从你身上割下来的一点点肉向我夸耀呢？44我指着永生之耶和华，我父亲亚伯拉罕的神向你起誓，如果耶和华对我父亲说，你现在带上你的儿子以撒，把他抬到我面前献上，我也不会反抗，而会欣然接受。45耶和华听见以撒向以实玛利所说的话，这在他眼中看为美，于是他想在这件事情上试验亚伯拉罕。46到了那一天，神的众子来侍立在耶和华面前，撒旦也和他们一起来到耶和华面前。47耶和华问撒旦说，你从哪里来？撒旦回答说，我从地上走来走去，往返而来。48耶和华问撒旦说，论到全地的人，你有什么话要对我说的呢？撒旦回答说，我看见全地的人，当他们有需要的时候，就会想起你来侍奉你。49当你将他们所求的给他们之后，他们就坐下安逸，并且离弃你，不再纪念你。50你看到他拉的儿子亚伯拉罕了吗？起初他没有儿子，所以侍奉你，无论走到哪里，都为你设立祭坛，在上面献祭，不住地向全地的人宣告你的名。51现在他的儿子以撒出生了，他设摆了丰盛的筵席，宴请那地所有的居民，但他已经离弃你，忘记你了。52在他儿子断奶的那一天，他没有向你献祭，既没有献燔祭，也没有献平安祭，所宰杀的公牛、羊羔和山羊也都没有献给你。53甚至从他儿子出生到现在，已经过了37年，他没有为你筑任何祭坛，也没有献任何祭物给你，因为他看到在你面前的祈求已蒙应允，所以就弃绝了你。54耶和华问撒旦说，你曾用心查看过我的仆人亚伯拉罕没有？地上再没有人像他在我面前完全正直，敬畏我，远离恶事。我指着我的永生起誓，如果我对他说，把你的儿子以撒献给我，他也不会向我有所保留。何况我对他说，从你的牛羊中挑选燔祭牲来献给我呢？55撒旦回答说，现在你就照着你所说的向亚伯拉罕说话，看他是否不会违背弃绝你的话。亚萨尔书第23章。以那时耶和华的话临到亚伯拉罕，他对他说，亚伯拉罕。他回答说，我在这里。他对他说，你带着你的儿子，就是你独生的儿子，你所爱的以撒，往摩利亚地去，在我所要指示你的山上，把它献为燔祭，在那里你将看到一片云彩和耶和华的荣耀。亚伯拉罕在心里说，我怎么能将我的儿子以撒与他的母亲撒拉分开，好将他当作燔祭献在耶和华的面前呢？于是亚伯拉罕来到帐篷那里，坐在他的妻子撒拉面前，对他说，我的儿子以撒长大了，他尚未学习侍奉他的神，明日我要把他带到闪和他儿子希伯那里，在那里他将要学习耶和华的道，他们会教他，使他认识耶和华，也知道耶和华必会应允他在他面前不住的呼求，因此在那里他会知道如何侍奉耶和华他的神。撒拉说，你说的是，我主去吧，照你所说的坐在他身上，但不要使他离我太远，也不要使他停留那地太久，因我的心与他的心相连。其亚伯拉罕对撒拉说，我的女儿，我们一同向耶和华我们的神祈求， 他会善待我们的。巴撒拉将他的儿子以撒带来，他便整夜与他同住，他亲吻、拥抱他，教训他，直到早晨。他对他说：“我的儿啊，我的心怎能与你分离？”他仍然亲吻、拥抱他，为着以撒嘱咐亚伯拉罕。撒拉对亚伯拉罕说：“我主，我请求你看顾你的儿子，将他放在你的眼前，因我除了他再无别的儿子或女儿了。请不要撇下他。他若饥饿，请给他食物；他若渴了，请给他水喝。不要让他赤着脚去，也不要让他坐在太阳底下。不要让他独自行路，也不要强迫他做他所不愿做的，照他所愿的坐在他身上。撒拉整夜因着以撒的缘故痛哭，他教训他直到早晨。清早，撒拉从他屋里的衣服中挑选了一件上好的，就是亚比米勒赐给他的。他为他的儿子以撒穿上衣服，将一个冠冕戴在他的头上。他将一块贵重的宝石放在冠冕的顶上，给他们路上用的食物，他们就出发了。以撒同他父亲亚伯拉罕一起，他们的一些仆人跟着，送他们上路。撒拉与他们一同出去，追随他们，送他们上路。他们对他说：“回帐篷里去吧。撒拉听到他儿子以撒说的话，放声痛哭起来。她的丈夫亚伯拉罕跟着她一起哭，他们的儿子也跟着他们放声大哭。那些跟随他们的人也哭了起来。撒拉抓着他儿子以撒的手，拥抱他，仍然痛哭不已。撒拉说：“谁能知道今日以后我是否还能再见你呢？”他们仍旧在一起痛哭，亚伯拉罕、撒拉和以撒，并那些为他们送行的人也跟着哭。撒拉便转身离开他的儿子，边走边哭。他所有的仆人和使女跟着他回到帐篷里。亚伯拉罕带着他的儿子以撒，要将他当作祭物献在耶和华的面前，正如他所吩咐他的。亚伯拉罕带上2个少年人跟着他，夏甲的儿子以实玛利和他的仆人以利以谢，他们同他一起，正在路上行走时，少年人彼此说话。以实玛利对以利以谢说：“如今我父亲亚伯拉罕与以撒前去，要把他当作燔祭献给耶和华，正如他所吩咐他的。当他回来时，他会将他所有的一切都给我，好使我继承他的产业，因我是他头生的儿子。以利以谢回答以实玛利说：“亚伯拉罕真将你和你的母亲赶了出去，并起誓说，你不能承受他一切的产业，他要将他的所有给谁呢？岂不是给我，他的仆人，就是在他家里尽忠的，日夜侍奉他，办他要我办的一切事的人吗？他死时会将他的全部产业归给我。”正当亚伯拉罕与他的儿子以撒行走时，撒旦以一个老年人的形象显现在亚伯拉罕面前，脱外貌谦和，心灵痛悔，驮走进亚伯拉罕，对他说：“你是愚昧无知，还是冷酷无情？今日竟要对你独生的儿子行这样的事呢？神在你年老的日子赐给你一个儿子，他未曾行过什么恶，难道你今日要将他宰杀，将你独生儿子的灵魂在地上灭尽吗？”你岂不知道，也不明白，这事必不能出于耶和华吗？耶和华断不会在地上向人行此恶，并对他说：“你要杀你的儿子。亚伯拉罕听见此话，知道这是撒旦说的，托想要将他带离耶和华的道，只是亚伯拉罕不肯听从撒旦的声音。亚伯拉罕斥责了驼便离开了。撒旦又回来对以撒说话。 陀以一个相貌俊美的少年人的形象出现在以撒面前。三世陀走近以撒，对他说：“你岂不知道也不明白，你那年老愚蠢的父亲今日带你来，是要将你白白的宰杀吗？”31所以，我儿，不要听从，也不要跟随他，因他愚蠢老迈，不要失掉你宝贵的灵魂和美好的体型。32以撒听见，对亚伯拉罕说：“我父，你是否听见这个人所说的？他甚至对我说了这样的话。”33亚伯拉罕回答他的儿子以撒说：“你当留心，不要听从陀，也不要理会，陀是撒旦，今日想要把我们带离不听神的命令。”34亚伯拉罕仍旧斥责撒旦，撒旦离开了他们，见陀不能胜过他们，陀便从他们眼前隐藏了。陀从他们面前经过，将自己变成路上的一条大河。亚伯拉罕和以撒并他们的2个少年人到了那地，看见河水湍急，水势浩大。35他们进入河中，穿过河，河水起初没过他们的双腿。36他们进到河水深处，水淹没了他们的景象，他们因水惧都惊恐。正当他们过河时，亚伯拉罕回忆那地，他想起那地从前未曾有过河。37亚伯拉罕对他的儿子以撒说：“我知道这地未曾有过小溪或是大河，因此这是撒旦向我们行的，今日要把我们带离不听神的话。”38亚伯拉罕斥责陀，对陀说：“主责备你，撒旦，离开我们吧，因我们要照神的话去行。”39撒旦听见亚伯拉罕的声音，非常的惊恐，陀离开他们，那地变回干地，像起初那样。40亚伯拉罕带着以撒前往神吩咐他要去的地方。41第3日，亚伯拉罕举目远远地看见那地方，就是神告诉他要去的那地。42他看见有火柱连接天地，山上有荣耀的云彩，耶和华的荣耀在云中显现。43亚伯拉罕对以撒说：“我儿，看见那座山了吗？就是远处的那座，我所看到的。”44以撒回答他的父亲：“我看见火柱和云柱，云上有耶和华的荣耀。”45亚伯拉罕知道他的儿子以撒在耶和华眼前被悦纳，要做燔祭。46亚伯拉罕对以利以谢和他的儿子以实玛利说：“你们看见远处的山了吗？就是我们所看到的。”47他们回答说：“除了地上别处的山，我们什么也看不到。”亚伯拉罕知道他们在耶和华面前不被悦纳，不可与他们同去，于是亚伯拉罕对他们说：“你们与驴子在此等候，我和童子以撒往那里去拜一拜耶和华，就回到你们这里来。”48以利以谢和以实玛利听了亚伯拉罕的吩咐，留在那地。49亚伯拉罕把燔祭的柴放在他儿子以撒身上，自己手里拿着火与刀，于是2人同行。52人同行路上，以撒对他父亲说：“请看，火与柴都有了，但燔祭的羊羔在哪里呢？”51亚伯拉罕回答他儿子以撒说：“我儿，耶和华已经预备你做他完美的燔祭羔羊。”52以撒对他父亲说：“我情愿照耶和华所吩咐你的一切去行。”53亚伯拉罕又说他儿子以撒说：“你的心里是否有何想法或疑惑，是不合宜的？告诉我，我为你祷告。我儿啊，不要向我隐瞒。”54以撒回答他父亲亚伯拉罕说：“我父，我指着永生的耶和华并你的灵魂起誓，没有什么使我的心偏离他所指教你的道。55软弱的或强壮的都不能使我动摇，我的心里也没有任何恶念或疑惑。56我心里为此大大欢喜。我说： 今日拣选我做他继生的耶和华是配得称颂的。57亚伯拉罕听见以撒的话，便大大的欢喜，他们一同来到耶和华所指示的地方。58亚伯拉罕走进坛前，哭了起来，以撒拿起石头和砖筑起坛来。59亚伯拉罕把柴摆在他所住的坛上。60他捆绑他的儿子以撒，放在坛的柴上，要杀他，当作燔祭献给耶和华。61以撒对他父亲说：“请把我捆紧放在坛上，免得我因疼痛挣扎，从刀下逃脱，玷污了燔祭。”亚伯拉罕就照着做了。62以撒仍旧对他父亲说：“我父啊，你杀我烧我做燔祭后，请将我余剩的骨灰带给我母亲撒拉。”对他说：“这是以撒的馨香，但不要在他坐在井旁或在高处时告诉他，免得他的心过于思念我而寻死。”63亚伯拉罕听见以撒的话，扬起声来大哭，亚伯拉罕的眼泪流到了他儿子以撒的身上，以撒痛哭，对他父亲说：“我父，求你快照耶和华我们神的旨意，照他所吩咐你的坐在我身上。”64亚伯拉罕和以撒为耶和华所吩咐他们行的，这是高兴欢喜，心虽欢喜，眼里却充满泪水。65亚伯拉罕捆绑他的儿子以撒，放在坛的柴上，以撒在坛上，他父亲面前伸出他的颈项，亚伯拉罕伸手拿起刀，要在耶和华面前把他的儿子杀了，当作燔祭。66那时，仁慈的天使来到耶和华面前，对他说起以撒。67耶和华呀，弥满有怜悯和慈爱，弥是弥所造的天地万物的王，弥托住万有，请将以撒你的仆人买赎回来，向今日遵行弥命令的亚伯拉罕和以撒发怜悯和慈爱。68耶和华啊，弥岂没有看见弥仆人亚伯拉罕的儿子以撒是如何被绑，像动物一样的被宰杀吗？如今请弥向他们发怜悯，耶和华呀。69于是耶和华向亚伯拉罕显现，从天上呼叫他说：“你不可在这童子身上下手，一点不可害他。现在我知道你是敬畏神的了，因为你没有将你的儿子，就是你独生的儿子，留下不给我。”70亚伯拉罕举目观看，不料有一只公羊，两脚扣在稠密的小树中，那是耶和华神在创世那天就已经造好了的。71耶和华自那日已经预备好这只羊，作为代替以撒献上的燔祭。72这只羊正走向亚伯拉罕时，撒旦抓住了他，将他两脚扣在树丛中，他就不能到亚伯拉罕那里去，这是为要让亚伯拉罕杀死他的儿子。73亚伯拉罕见羊走向他，撒旦却扣住了他，他就取了那只公羊来，献为燔祭，代替他的儿子。74亚伯拉罕将公羊的血洒在坛上，并宣告说：“这是代替我儿的血，愿这血今日在耶和华面前被看为我儿的血。”75亚伯拉罕在坛旁所行的，他所宣告的，这是代替我儿的血，愿这血今日在耶和华面前被看为我儿的血。亚伯拉罕献完祭，这祭在耶和华眼中被悦纳，算作献以撒的祭，耶和华那日就祝福亚伯拉罕和他的子孙。
41 And when Isaac was 37 years old, Ishmael his brother was going about with him in the tent. 42 And Ishmael boasted of himself to Isaac, saying, I was 13 years old when the Lord spoke to my father to circumcise us, and I did according to the word of the Lord which he spoke to my father, and I gave my soul unto the Lord, and I did not transgress his word which he commanded my father. 43 And Isaac answered Ishmael, saying, Why dost thou boast to me about this, about a little bit of thy flesh which thou didst take from thy body? concerning which the Lord commanded thee. 44 As the Lord liveth, the God of my father Abraham, if the Lord should say unto my father, Take now thy son Isaac and bring him up an offering before me, I would not refrain, but I would joyfully accede to it. 45 And the Lord heard the word that Isaac spoke to Ishmael, and it seemed good in the sight of the Lord, and he thought to try Abraham in this matter. 46 And the day arrived when the sons of God came and placed themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with the sons of God before the Lord. 47 And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. 48 And the Lord said to Satan, What is thy word to me concerning all the children of the earth? And Satan answered the Lord and said, I have seen all the children of the earth who serve thee and remember thee when they require anything from thee. 49 And when thou givest them the thing which they require from thee, they sit at their ease, and forsake thee, and they remember thee no more. 50 Hast thou seen Abraham the son of Terah, who at first had no children, and he served thee and erected altars to thee wherever he came, and he brought up offerings upon them, and he proclaimed thy name continually to all the children of the earth. 51 And now that his son Isaac is born to him, he has forsaken thee, he has made a great feast for all the inhabitants of the land, and the Lord he has forgotten. 52 For amidst all that he has done he brought thee no offering, neither burnt offering nor peace offering, neither ox, lamb, nor goat of all that he killed on the day that his son was weaned. 53 Even from the time of his son's birth till now, being 37 years, he built no altar before thee, nor brought any offering to thee, for he saw that thou didst give what he requested before thee, and he therefore forsook thee. 54 And the Lord said to Satan, Hast thou thus considered my servant Abraham? For there is none like him upon earth, a perfect and an upright man before me, one that feareth God and avoideth evil. As I live, were I to say unto him, Bring up Isaac thy son before me, he would not withhold him from me, much more if I told him to bring up a burnt offering before me from his flock or herds. 55 And Satan answered the Lord and said, Speak then now unto Abraham as thou hast said, and thou wilt see whether he will not this day transgress and cast aside thy words. Book of Jasher, chapter 23. 1 At that time the word of the Lord came to Abraham, and he said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. 2 And he said to him, Take now thy son, thine only son whom thou lovest, even Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which shall be shown to thee, for there wilt thou see a cloud and the glory of the Lord. 3 And Abraham said within himself, How shall I separate my son Isaac from Sarah his mother, in order to bring him up for a burnt offering before the Lord? 4 And Abraham came into the tent, and he sat before Sarah his wife, and he spoke these words to her. 5 My son Isaac is grown up, and he has not for some time studied the service of his God. Now tomorrow I will go and bring him to Shem, and Eber his son, and there he will learn the ways of the Lord, for they will teach him to know the Lord as well as to know that when he prayeth continually before the Lord, he will answer him, therefore there he will know the way of serving the Lord his God. 6 And Sarah said, Thou hast spoken well, go my lord and do unto him as thou hast said, but remove him not at a great distance from me, neither let him remain there too long, for my soul is bound within his soul. 7 And Abraham said unto Sarah, My daughter, let us pray to the Lord our God, that he may do good with us. 8 And Sarah took her son Isaac, and he abode all that night with her, and she kissed and embraced him, and gave him instructions till morning. 9 And she said to him, O my son, how can my soul separate itself from thee? And she still kissed him and embraced him, and she gave Abraham instructions concerning him. 10 And Sarah said to Abraham, O my lord, I pray thee take heed of thy son, and place thine eyes over him, for I have no other son nor daughter but him. 11 O forsake him not. If he be hungry give him bread, and if he be thirsty give him water to drink. Do not let him go on foot, neither let him sit in the sun. 12 Neither let him go by himself in the road, neither force him from whatever he may desire, but do unto him as he may say to thee. 13 And Sarah wept bitterly the whole night on account of Isaac, and she gave him instructions till morning. 14 And in the morning Sarah selected a very fine and beautiful garment from those garments which she had in the house, that Abimelech had given to her. 15 And she dressed Isaac her son therewith, and she put a turban upon his head, and she enclosed a precious stone in the top of the turban, and she gave them provision for the road, and they went forth, and Isaac went with his father Abraham, and some of their servants accompanied them to see them off the road. 16 And Sarah went out with them, and she accompanied them upon the road to see them off, and they said to her, Return to the tent. 17 And when Sarah heard the words of her son Isaac she wept bitterly, and Abraham her husband wept with her, and their son wept with them a great weeping, also those who went with them wept greatly. 18 And Sarah caught hold of her son Isaac, and she held him in her arms, and she embraced him and continued to weep with him, and Sarah said, Who knoweth if after this day I shall ever see thee again? 19 And they still wept together, Abraham, Sarah and Isaac, and all those that accompanied them on the road wept with them, and Sarah afterward turned away from her son, weeping bitterly, and all her men servants and maid servants returned with her to the tent. 20 And Abraham went with Isaac his son to bring him up as an offering before the Lord, as he had commanded him. 21 And Abraham took 2 of his young men with him, Ishmael the son of Hagar and Eliezer his servant, and they went together with them, and whilst they were walking in the road the young men spoke these words to themselves. 22 And Ishmael said to Eliezer, Now my father Abraham is going with Isaac to bring him up for a burnt offering to the Lord, as he commanded him. 23 Now when he returneth he will give unto me all that he possesses, to inherit after him, for I am his firstborn. 24 And Eliezer answered Ishmael and said, Surely Abraham did cast thee away with thy mother, and swear that thou shouldst not inherit anything of all he possesses, and to whom will he give all that he has, with all his treasures, but unto me his servant, who has been faithful in his house, who has served him night and day, and has done all that he desired me? To me will he bequeath at his death all that he possesses. 25 And whilst Abraham was proceeding with his son Isaac along the road, Satan came and appeared to Abraham in the figure of a very aged man, humble and of contrite spirit, and he approached Abraham and said to him, Art thou silly or brutish, that thou goest to do this thing this day to thine only son? 26 For God gave thee a son in thy latter days, in thy old age, and wilt thou go and slaughter him this day because he committed no violence, and wilt thou cause the soul of thine only son to perish from the earth? 27 Dost thou not know and understand that this thing cannot be from the Lord? For the Lord cannot do unto man such evil upon earth, to say to him, Go slaughter thy child. 28 And Abraham heard this, and knew that it was the word of Satan who endeavored to draw him aside from the way of the Lord, but Abraham would not hearken to the voice of Satan, and Abraham rebuked him so that he went away. 29 And Satan returned and came to Isaac, and he appeared unto Isaac in the figure of a young man comely and well favored. 30 And he approached Isaac and said unto him, Dost thou not know and understand that thy old silly father bringeth thee to the slaughter this day for naught? 31 Now therefore, my son, do not listen nor attend to him, for he is a silly old man, and let not thy precious soul and beautiful figure be lost from the earth. 32 And Isaac heard this, and said unto Abraham, Hast thou heard, my father, that which this man has spoken? Even thus has he spoken. 33 And Abraham answered his son Isaac, and said to him, Take heed of him, and do not listen to his words, nor attend to him, for he is Satan, endeavoring to draw us aside this day from the commands of God. 34 And Abraham still rebuked Satan, and Satan went from them, and seeing he could not prevail over them, he hid himself from them, and he went and passed before them in the road, and he transformed himself to a large brook of water in the road. And Abraham and Isaac and his 2 young men reached that place, and they saw a brook large and powerful as the mighty waters. 35 And they entered the brook and passed through it, and the waters at first reached their legs. 36 And they went deeper in the brook, and the waters reached up to their necks, and they were all terrified on account of the water. And whilst they were going over the brook, Abraham recognized that place, and he knew that there was no water there before. 37 And Abraham said to his son Isaac, I know this place in which there was no brook nor water. Now therefore it is this Satan who does all this to us, to draw us aside this day from the commands of God. 38 And Abraham rebuked him, and said unto him, The Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, begone from us, for we go by the commands of God. 39 And Satan was terrified at the voice of Abraham, and he went away from them, and the place again became dry land as it was at first. 40 And Abraham went with Isaac toward the place that God had told him. 41 And on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place at a distance which God had told him of. 42 And a pillar of fire appeared to him that reached from the earth to heaven, and a cloud of glory upon the mountain, and the glory of the Lord was seen in the cloud. 43 And Abraham said to Isaac, My son, dost thou see in that mountain, which we perceive at a distance, that which I see upon it? 44 And Isaac answered, and said unto his father, I see, and lo, a pillar of fire and a cloud, and the glory of the Lord is seen upon the cloud. 45 And Abraham knew that his son Isaac was accepted before the Lord for a burnt offering. 46 And Abraham said unto Eliezer and unto Ishmael his son, Do you also see that which we see upon the mountain which is at a distance? 47 And they answered and said, We see nothing more than like the other mountains of the earth. And Abraham knew that they were not accepted before the Lord to go with them, and Abraham said to them, Abide ye here with the ass, whilst I and Isaac my son will go to yonder mount and worship there before the Lord, and then return to you. 48 And Eliezer and Ishmael remained in that place, as Abraham had commanded. 49 And Abraham took wood for a burnt offering, and placed it upon his son Isaac, and he took the fire and the knife, and they both went to that place. 50 And when they were going along, Isaac said to his father, Behold, I see here the fire and wood, and where then is the lamb that is to be the burnt offering before the Lord? 51 And Abraham answered his son Isaac, saying, The Lord has made choice of thee, my son, to be a perfect burnt offering instead of the lamb. 52 And Isaac said unto his father, I will do all that the Lord spoke to thee with joy and cheerfulness of heart. 53 And Abraham again said unto Isaac his son, Is there in thy heart any thought or counsel concerning this, which is not proper? Tell me, my son, I pray thee, O my son, conceal it not from me. 54 And Isaac answered his father Abraham, and said unto him, O my father, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is nothing in my heart to cause me to deviate either to the right or to the left from the word that he has spoken to thee. 55 Neither limb nor muscle has moved or stirred at this, nor is there in my heart any thought or evil counsel concerning this. 56 But I am of joyful and cheerful heart in this matter, and I say, Blessed is the Lord who has this day chosen me to be a burnt offering before him. 57 And Abraham greatly rejoiced at the words of Isaac, and they went on and came together to that place that the Lord had spoken of. 58 And Abraham approached to build the altar in that place, and Abraham was weeping, and Isaac took stones and mortar until they had finished building the altar. 59 And Abraham took the wood and placed it in order upon the altar which he had built. 60 And he took his son Isaac and bound him in order to place him upon the wood which was upon the altar, to slay him for a burnt offering before the Lord. 61 And Isaac said to his father, Bind me securely and then place me upon the altar lest I should turn and move, and break loose from the force of the knife upon my flesh and thereof profane the burnt offering, and Abraham did so. 62 And Isaac still said to his father, O my father, when thou shalt have slain me and burned me for an offering, take with thee that which shall remain of my ashes to bring to Sarah my mother, and say to her, This is the sweet-smelling savor of Isaac. But do not tell her this if she should sit near a well or upon any high place, lest she should cast her soul after me and die. 63 And Abraham heard the words of Isaac, and he lifted up his voice and wept when Isaac spake these words, and Abraham's tears gushed down upon Isaac his son, and Isaac wept bitterly, and he said to his father, Hasten thou, O my father, and do with me the will of the Lord our God as he has commanded thee. 64 And the hearts of Abraham and Isaac rejoiced at this thing which the Lord had commanded them, but the eye wept bitterly whilst the heart rejoiced. 65 And Abraham bound his son Isaac, and placed him on the altar upon the wood, and Isaac stretched forth his neck upon the altar before his father, and Abraham stretched forth his hand to take the knife to slay his son as a burnt offering before the Lord. 66 At that time the angels of mercy came before the Lord and spake to him concerning Isaac, saying, 67 Lord, thou art a merciful and compassionate king over all that thou hast created in heaven and in earth, and thou supportest them all. Give therefore ransom and redemption instead of thy servant Isaac, and pity, and have compassion upon Abraham and Isaac his son, who are this day performing thy commands. 68 Hast thou seen, O Lord, how Isaac the son of Abraham thy servant is bound down to the slaughter like an animal? Now therefore let thy pity be roused for them, O Lord. 69 At that time the Lord appeared unto Abraham, and called to him from heaven, and said unto him, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God in performing this act, and in not withholding thy son, thine only son, from me. 70 And Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, a ram was caught in a thicket by his horns. That was the ram which the Lord God had created in the earth in the day that he made earth and heaven. 71 For the Lord had prepared this ram from that day, to be a burnt offering instead of Isaac. 72 And this ram was advancing to Abraham when Satan caught hold of him and entangled his horns in the thicket, that he might not advance to Abraham, in order that Abraham might slay his son. 73 And Abraham, seeing the ram advancing to him and Satan withholding him, fetched him and brought him before the altar, and he loosened his son Isaac from his binding, and he put the ram in his stead, and Abraham killed the ram upon the altar, and brought it up as an offering in the place of his son Isaac. 74 And Abraham sprinkled some of the blood of the ram upon the altar, and he exclaimed and said, This is in the place of my son, and may this be considered this day as the blood of my son before the Lord. 75 And all that Abraham did on this occasion by the altar, he would exclaim and say, This is in the room of my son, and may it this day be considered before the Lord in the place of my son. And Abraham finished the whole of the service by the altar, and the service was accepted before the Lord, and was accounted as if it had been Isaac, and the Lord blessed Abraham and his seed on that day.
下回书第15部分，撒拉之死。欺骗父子无果效，转身实话骗撒拉。 原本是承在告妻，哪知妻死路途中。谢谢大家收听以诺谈天节目，希望大家顺着思绪听，我们下回见。
Next part 15, Sarah's death. Satan deceived father and son ineffectively, so it turned around to target Sarah. Originally, after the incident was completed, Abram would tell his wife the truth, but he would never know that his wife was on the road to death. Thank you for listening to the Enoch Talk Show. I hope you will listen to it in order, and see you next time.